Long time no see.
And Carrie, you're driving the PowerPoint?
Yes.
What's up, Randy?
Hey, Chad, how are you?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
What's going on up in Michigan?
Oh man, we got warm weather, sun. It's like in the 40s, baby. It feels like summer.
That's like summer up there this time of year, right?
Yes, it is.
Very cool.
Hello, Pastor Roy.
How are you, my friend?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm doing all the better for seeing you.
Listen to him. Chad, thanks so much for doing all the cool stuff you're doing. I love following your stuff, and I'm very grateful to be involved.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Well, I had Roy on. We were going to do this on Valentine's Day, but I think my schedule didn't work or his schedule didn't work. Probably because he's a very good husband and takes Valentine's Day off to be with Mary. I'd imagine that's what it was.
No, I was supposed to be out of the country.
Oh, that's why. So we're going to get you ready for Valentine's Day today. Some of my team's on, some of my realtors will be on. Roy put a lot of work into this. I'll tell you three things that Roy has impacted my life with, just so you all know mine and Roy's relationship. Number one, we share office space together, so he gets to see me at my best and at my worst at all times. So he sees and knows what's going on in my life probably more than anybody besides my immediate family. So just knowing that's our relationship. He's helped me out in my marriage. He helps me out in my walk with Christ and my Christianity. And he is just always there to pour into me, but never to judge. So I'm very open with Roy about what I think's doing well, what's going well. I'm very open with him of what I'm struggling with. And we just work on these things together. And I put three things together. I always like giving my top three to people like, hey, these are the most important things you've done for me to show gratitude. Number one is just putting Kristen on a pedestal. I know when I do that and treat her how I treat my daughters, I have three little girls at home, that everything in my life just ends up being good. So it starts with your significant other, whether that be a boyfriend or girlfriend, whether you have a partner, whether you're married. I just think it's very important to put the other person's needs in ahead of yours. And when you do that, guess what? All your needs just get magically met by that other person because you're putting them first. So he's taught me that. Don't always look at the world through my lens, try and look at it through their lens. Has been just a big improvement for me when I'm struggling with someone or I'm having conflict with them. Don't look at the argument or the disagreement or the conflict through my lens. Try and look at it through their lens and what they're going through. And third is he said it to me. He said, hey, you want your daughters to look for a man that treats them well. Make sure they see you treating her well every day, because otherwise it will be guaranteed not happen. So those are my three biggest lessons from Roy. I think he has the best marriage I've seen. I see him and Mary almost on a daily basis. I know they just celebrated 45 years together, so obviously they're doing something right there. And I just look up to him so many ways in my walk with Christ. As a leader in business, he helps me, and definitely in my marriage. So I wanted to share my man, my friend, Pastor Roy Mason with you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chad. Those are kind words. They're the kind of words my daddy would have appreciated and my mama would have believed. So I appreciate those kind words. All of you that I ever get to deal with have impacted my life in great ways. Chad certainly has. Watching us together go through struggles. We have some common ground with or common people in our lives, and we have to talk about that stuff. And one of the greatest things in relationships is learning to talk. And so every year I start out a year with asking God to give me a theme for the year. Last year it was we were going to have, or in 21 it was have more fun in 21. Last week was be the glue in 22. And when 22 ended, I was going into this crazy year of 23 where everything was still, going absolutely crazy. And God just gave me the word to say, well, let's be more free in 23. Now I'm a preacher, so I got to spell out the words. And the truth is, I think if we learn these 4 words, we will indeed be on the road to being more free this year. There's a lot of opposition. There's a lot of conflict in the world. There's a lot of questions still in the world, and they're still going to be there. But if we will learn to have more fun this year, then we're going to have a better year. We'll be free when we have fun. Many of you have lost the idea of having fun because you're dooming and glooming all the time. So you've got to begin every day by looking, what am I looking forward to today? What's this day going to hold for me? Have fun doing that. And another thing I've added to people's life or suggestion to them is when you finish your day, kind of sit back for a minute and look from a 20,000-foot overview of what your day was like. Think about the 1 or 2 real highlights in the day, but also think about the lowlights in the day. You got to remember you learn from the lowlights. Any of you who played ball and watched game films, you didn't need to see some guy receiving a lot of passes. You didn't need to watch. They show on TV always the highlight films. You know, the quarterbacks are throwing pass. They don't really show that the defense can't block or the offense can't get a hole open or that the receivers don't run the right routes. But you've got to see that so that you can say, now, what did I learn from that mistake? If every day you would look for a low light or 2 in your day and say, now, what do I do to change that? You'll begin to have more fun this year. Secondly, we've got to be more relational. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is this question of being relational or being tactical. We'll talk about that. Thirdly, we have to be more engaged this year. We can't lock ourselves up in a closet. We can't just sit back and sulk all the time. No, rather, we've got to be always being engaged with the things around us, engaged with your team, engaged with your spouse, engaged with the people that you are alongside every single day. And then fourthly, I want us to be more encouraging this year. Everywhere I go, I meet somebody that needs to be encouraged. I just got off the phone with a guy that's changing companies, and he said, I didn't get a word from God about it. I didn't listen. I didn't do this. And I said, well, let me encourage you a little bit. You would do well to wait to hear from God. But if you don't hear from God, just buckle up and understand that he will get you through whatever you're going through. So that's how I look at being more free in 23. And it's all built on the foundation of us being grateful, us being gracious, and us being generous. When we do that, our life will be set on the right course. So, but as we come into this question of today on that opening screen, okay, that's fine. On that opening screen, it was asked about how to fall in love and honor your spouse. How to fall in love. I don't like that phrase. I think about falling, free falling, or falling in a hole, or falling down, and I can't get up. You know, I don't think we really fall in love as much as we find love. That we find love, and it only real love comes from a relationship with our Heavenly Father. Now, that is honestly the truth. If you'll stay in relationship with God, you will have more fun. You will be more relational. You'll be more engaged. You'll be more encouraging. But as we look for love, you remember the song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places? That's when you fall down, when you're in the wrong places. You may be infatuated by somebody. You may be head over heels about how the person looks or how they act, but it's got to be within the will of God. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions today, and I want you to stop me anywhere along the way. Just speak up if you've got something to say. We need to find out, are we transactional or are we relational? Now, how do we know that? Well, there's a couple questions we have to ask ourselves. Number one, do you always enter into agreements thinking, what do I get from this? What do I get out of this? You guys are all salesmen. You're all natural born negotiators and stuff. You're always looking for the deal. You're looking for the art of the deal. But too often you think, what do I get? On the other hand, you can ask the question and say, what do I give? When you look at what Chad was talking about, him and his wife, he's got to be looking through that lens to say, what can I give to her that makes her be all that she can be? And Chad, have you learned yet when you do that, you will get what you get to?
Most of the time, yes.
As you give, you'll get it. It's a mutual two-way street. Second question we have to ask ourselves, very simply, is, I mean, I can't see it. If you have conversation like this, let's us keep in touch. Does that sound relational? That's what you say to every client. I listened to Ryan over here on the telephone. He says, we'll keep in touch. Well, there's not a relationship there. But if we frame it another way and we say, let's keep informed. Most every argument you've ever had with your spouse, significant other, bride, whatever, what most of your problems have been because you didn't communicate and stay informed. We believe they know everything we know, but they do too. They believe we should know everything that they're going through. How am I going to know how Mary's day is going? What's the easiest way for me to know?
Got to ask.
Got to ask her.
Yeah.
I make myself reach out to her a couple of times a day. Everything okay, honey? You need anything? Now, I almost always hope she doesn't. But I got to know. Because if I hear 2 or 3 things during the day, I can be prepared for when I get home. How many of you have walked into the house and it just exploded because you didn't know all they've been going through that day? Absolutely. If you didn't raise your hand, you're just not telling the truth. We've all been overwhelmed by that stuff. But the truth is, if we stay informed and keep informed about what's going on, we'll be moving from transactional to relational. A third thing is, do we always look to win the battle, win the conflict? Some of you do. It's all about winning for you. But sometimes you have to look and say, how can we resolve the conflict? I don't mind conflicts. Chad and I deal a lot with Rick. Rick doesn't mind conflicts, but he wants to get them over. The conflict is to get to the deeper level. Now, that's not always fun. That's not always enjoyable at the moment, but it's always designed that way because I know the heart of Rick. He's never looking to harm any of us. He's always looking to help all of us. And that's where we are. So what we have to ask ourselves, if we're doing this, then if we're transactional, it will lead to fear. If we're relational, it'll lead to faith. Now, what's the difference in faith and fear? Well, very simply this. Fear means faulty evidence appearing real. Faulty evidence appearing real. Every time you're afraid, I've learned in my life, I'll be 65 years old in June. I've learned in 65 years that things are never as bad as you think they are, and they're never as good as you hope they are. It's a work in progress, every part of life. So we have to finally ask ourselves, are we in partnership or are we in slavery? Now, faith, I remember this way: forsaking all, I trust him. Forsaking all, I trust him. If you live a life of faith, you don't worry so much what tomorrow holds, because I've read the back of the book and we know who holds tomorrow. Everybody was panicking over that balloon going over the United States. Now, we all got our idea about what should have been done. You're recording this, right?
I'm recording it. Yep.
Yeah. What should have been done is, as soon as it hit our airspace, we should have shot it down. But we didn't do that. But God saw us through that as well. That didn't catch God off guard. It caught us off guard.
It did fly right over your house. You could have shot it down. Right?
It sure, I couldn't see it. But it did fly right over us. And I saw people in the neighborhood took pictures. Everybody goes out and buys these big telescopes to see that one-time thing, which I don't quite understand. But that's what's there. So let's move and think about this partnership or slavery. Are we in transactional or relational conditions? Are we transactional or are we relational? It's fear versus faith. Secondly, though, it's asking that question, are you in partnership? What does that mean? What does it mean to be in partnership? That simply means it is two people walking in the same direction. When you've had frustrations with your family, when you've had frustrations with your mate, it's been because you were trying to walk in two different directions. She had her mind what needed to be done. You had your mind what needed to be done. We were celebrating our anniversary this past weekend. And I didn't tell you that yet, did I? About what went on at the restaurant?
Mm-mm.
Okay. We go to her favorite restaurant. We go every year on our anniversary. It's way too expensive. It's good, but it's not that good. But Mary loves it. So if that's where she wants to go on our anniversary, that's where we'll go. So we go in, they knew it was our anniversary. They had a table already decorated, had flowers on it, had a card on it, had this stuff, little glittery stuff on the tablecloth. And we're sitting down, we start to talk. The couple next to us, sitting beside me, said, "Oh, you're celebrating your anniversary. When is your anniversary?" I said, "It's today." He said, "How long have you been married?" I said, 45 years. He said, "Wow, that's incredible. Good for you." He said, "You know, today's our anniversary too, this actual day." I said, "Wow, that's spectacular. How long have you been married?" He said, 57 years. Well, all of a sudden, I didn't feel that impressed by my 45 years. And I told him that exact word. I said, "Well, I'm not very impressed with my 45 sitting beside you." And he said the most wise thing I've ever heard anybody say. He looked at me and said, "No, no, no. You have to have 45 to get to 57. Now, there's a great lesson in all of that. No matter where you are in life, you're on the journey. It's not judged by today. Today is just the journey. If a low light is that Mary and I were fighting today, we're going to make up before we go to bed. We're going to get through it. If it takes 4 hours, we're going to get through it. And he turned to the waitress, came over and said, "So what's your secret to being married this long?" I said, "Very simply, you have to forgive real quickly." And she looked at Mary and said, "What's your secret?" "I have to know when to shut my mouth." Now, there's great wisdom in both of those. So if we're going to be in partnership, we're going to be walking in the same direction. If we're walking through slavery, we are bound to something and we're wanting to get away from it all the time. So I think the one thing all of us have to do more better than we've done is what's next coming up on here. We have to learn to speak a new language. You have to know the language they speak. Now, the truth is, we don't all speak the same language. You know, Chapman talks about the 5 love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Now, how many of you have ever taken the love language test? Okay, so you probably ought to do that again because languages change. But how many of you know your significant other's love language? What's yours, Chad?
Acts of service and quality time.
Okay, Ryan, what's yours?
Acts of service.
Okay, Rachel?
Words of affirmation and acts of service.
Okay, Sean?
It'd be acts of service and words of affirmation.
Okay, Josh?
Acts of service and quality time.
Wow. Carrie, you know yours yet?
No, Christians is acts of
what's his?
acts of service, and physical touch.
Okay, Randy?
It's words of affirmation and quality time.
Okay, Ryan?
Mine are quality time and physical touch.
They're yours or are they the other person?
Those are my partners.
Okay,
My girl.
JT?
Quality time and physical touch.
Okay, okay. Now listen, how many of you share the identical language with your spouse? One person. Maybe 2. We got 1.5. So here's the truth though. What we typically do is speak the language we need to hear. You know, if yours is acts of service and your spouse's, or if yours is receiving gifts and your spouse's is acts of service, you constantly speak the gift language. And it's like you're talking to a blank wall or foreign language to them. So we have to know this language of our mate. We have to know what that is. And we got to speak that loudly to them in all that we do. I know that Mary is quality time and acts of service. So why do I call her all through the day and say, do I need to get anything for you? You don't need to run to the grocery store. I can stop on the way home, because that's an act of service. You know, if I hate to admit, mine's are words of affirmation. But, you know, in a role like I've been in for all my life, you don't get much of that. And so you crave that. I hear all the problems and stuff from people. That's when Chad had me today, when he starts telling me all the good stuff I did for him. And I'm going, wow, Chad loves me, because that's my love language.
I forgot to tell you how good that blue shirt looks on you too. Sorry.
Well, the truth is this, though. We've got to learn to speak that language. You're never going to elevate or honor your spouse until you can speak to them to show them you're looking to be more relational with them in everything that we do. So, you know, the love language test looks like that. We can all get you a copy of it if you want one. If you don't have it, you can get, couldn't you get your concierge to send you one?
Yeah, we can make that happen. Just put your email in the chat and we'll make sure you get it.
Yeah. And listen, it's not hard stuff. But it's fun to take it independent of each other. Give it to your wife, or husband, let them do it. You do it apart from them. And then you two compare it together. Then you exchange the papers, and you've covered almost all of them. Because when you do that, you're going to have some words of affirmation. You're going to have some quality time doing this. You're going to have some receiving gifts. You're going to have acts of service. You might even get physical touch out of all that. And don't get caught up in physical touch. It's not always sex. There's something about holding hands and walking along and doing things like that. You know, as soon as we got to the restaurant the other night, you know, we got out of the car, give it to the valet up front, because there's nowhere to park in uptown Charlotte. And I gave it to the valet. Mary waited on the side. I came around and she grabbed my hand walking to the door. I love that. You don't see that much anymore. You don't see people that are in agreement anymore. So take this test together, take it independently of each other, then take it together, and you'll see what's going to happen. Now, I think there are some requirements for a biblical union. You know, what does God require of us? Well, there are 8 things. First of all, there's forgiveness. What does that mean? What does it mean to forgive?
If you make a mistake, if you get an argument, do something, then you have a shorter memory of the pain that it caused.
That's exactly right. Very good answer. Forgiveness is something that is a labor of love. Because honestly, we kind of like holding grudges a little while. We like having something to be mad about, especially in the world you guys are living in, where you're working today, that you think, you know, the whole world's out to get you. And you think the end of the world is coming. Let me tell you, the end of the world is coming. And you're not going to change that. But you got to live in the grace of today and forgive people around you, especially your significant other. You've got to forgive very quickly. And if you're having a hard time forgiving, remind yourself of what you have been forgiven for. Remember what Christ did for you. Remember how you've had to be forgiven for some statements you've made or some actions you've had. Learn to forgive and do it very quickly. Secondly, though, you got to have faith. You got to have faith in something. And you got to have agreed faith. If you don't have faith in God, I don't know what you find it to have it in. But the truth is, if Mary and I don't share our faith, we're not going to have a biblical union, because the Bible tells us don't be unequally yoked together. That's not a suggestion from God's word. That's a command from God's word. So have faith together. The third one is a key, though. You got to learn to have some friendship. I think friendship is a lost art in marriages today as well. We look at it as just we got married. It was fun. We had children. That was good. But you just don't seem to like each other anymore. Somebody can nod your head and go, I know exactly what you're talking about. You got to have a friendship. You remember the old Disney song, I'll be a friend indeed? That's what we have to do. Mary is my best friend. I mean, in all of life, she's my best friend. She'll correct me when I'm wrong. She'll compliment me when I'm right twice. She will go with me wherever we want to go. If we say, she say, you know, I'd really like to go so-and-so. Okay. The only thing I won't do with her, the only thing, I'm not going to Bed Bath and Beyond, and I'm not going to that other home goods store. I'm not going there. And I've told her, honey, I love you, but I'm not going.
We found the weakness.
Yeah, I'll go with her to Belk's and find a chair and sit in if she wants to shop, but I ain't going to those two places. And she doesn't want me to go those two places, so it's good. How many of you've got a line in the sand that you will not do? Okay, Josh, what's yours? I am not doing that.
Well, Home Goods is one of our stores as well.
There
I
you
will
go.
not do the Home Goods, but yeah, typically it's shopping, just
Okay.
clothes shopping.
Well, that's the only thing I was grateful for in COVID, because everybody learned they can just get clothes sent to them. You can order
Yeah.
online from anybody you want. They'll send it right to you.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
But all of you have something. Randy, what's yours? What's your line in the sand that you will not do?
I can't think of one with Jennifer, honestly.
Wow. Wow.
I know I can come up with one probably if I give it more time, but off the top of my head, I can't think of one. And she's just so darn easygoing, and you know, she doesn't press any buttons of mine. I overachieved dramatically when I married my wife. There's no doubt.
Okay, good. Anybody else want to share something?
I thought the same thing when I sat with you. Randy. I was like, wow. she's married to him.
Thank you, Chad.
Anybody else have one in the line that you think everybody could benefit from?
Mine's Target.
Target. Okay.
Yeah, Christian's is shopping malls. He hates malls in particular. He says it gets him tired 10 minutes after being there. So I do not take him shopping with me.
And he was a professional soccer player and he gets tired of them all.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, but listen, if he isn't going to go, give him grace on that.
Hmm.
And so what'll happen is you'll buy more when he's not there.
Exactly. That's why
There
he
you
wants to
go.
go.
There you go. So fourthly, you have to have fellowship. And that really means that you accept one another, that you care for each other. You are, the word fellowship just means two fellas in a ship. We're going in the same direction. We're not rowing against each other. We're in acceptance and agreement about everything that's coming. Then fifthly, we have to have a foundation. Now, your foundation of your marriage might be based on physical touch. It might be based on appearance. It may be the foundation is love and joy, but you got to know your foundation. Now, it's got to be.
Question, Roy.
Yeah, sure.
Explain the difference between friendship and fellowship.
Friendship is just being in agreement that you enjoy each other, that it's somebody you can just talk to about everything. Fellowship just reminds us that we're moving in the same direction.
Got it.
Now, you can be moving in the same direction without friendship, but it's not easy.
Right.
And you could have some friendship, but if you don't have a foundation, you're not going to have a real friendship.
Got it.
It's going to be a surface level thing.
Okay.
These 8 things all build on one another. And that's what we need to remember. Then we got to understand we got a future. When that guy and lady were sitting beside us at the restaurant, I could hear them speaking. I mean, the table was that far apart, far enough apart for a waiter to come through. But they were doing their closing stuff. They brought out the dessert offering. They brought them 2 little glasses of champagne, and they do a toast. And the woman said, I hope we have 30 more of these together. 87 years. Now, I looked at it and said, I don't believe they can make that many more years, because they probably had to be 75 or 6. So, but I thought it was so sweet. And the husband said, how about if we just agree to have one more? Now, he wouldn't say only one more, but let's just work on the next one. But because the truth is everything in mine and Mary's life could blow apart today. I pray to God it doesn't. I can't think of anything that would cause that, but it could go. But you know, when I first met Mary in the 6th grade, I liked her almost immediately. It took her till the middle of the 11th grade to like me back, but I was persistent. You know, I was intentional. I was deliberate. I was intentional. And I told her before we got married, the day before we got married, I said, honey, we're going to do this tomorrow. And you can leave anytime you want to. But if you leave, I'm going with you. And that's the future we built together. We've had some hard times. We've had some difficulties. But when I look back on them at that highlight and lowlights, they were all things we learned from. All things. We have a future together. Then you've got to have a biblical union based on finance. You got to agree on money. You know, you can't let money be the thing that we argue about. I talk to so many coaches and their only argument is over money. It's always the argument they're having in their family. And it's because they don't talk about it together, because they're not forgiving. They're not friendly. They're not in fellowship. They don't have a foundation. They don't think about the future, and finance tears them apart. Why is finance so painful?
Fear.
Fear. Okay.
Embarrassment.
It
Okay, go-
affects everything that you do, like providing for your family. I mean, giving what you want for your kids, giving what you want for your wife. I mean, it's huge.
Okay.
Yeah. Create so many sources of stress, different sources of stress.
Okay. Okay.
It's your sense of security.
Say that again.
It's your sense of security.
Okay. Okay. I was talking to a coach or a person this morning. I don't think it's a coach. No. And it was telling me about their 17-year-old son that's just kind of not really taking stuff serious right now. And she said he's got the rest of this semester till summer. That's going to be what grades he bases going to college on. And so she said he just sits around and does this. She talked for 15 minutes. And I said, well, let me tell you what I see. You've enabled him to have an entitled lifestyle. He doesn't pick up his stuff. He waits for the housekeeper to pick it up. He won't put his laundry in the dirty clothes, leaves it on the floor. You've made him entitled. And I said, now I'm gonna say something to you now that'll probably make you angry. It's because you've got a little entitlement in your attitude. You got lots of money. You can do what you want to do. Listen, when we start feeling entitled to something, we can all do it. We can all do it. All of us have a little sense of that I'm better than that other person. I'm entitled, better trip. I want a better seat on an airplane. You know, I don't want to have to wait in a line at a restaurant. I don't want to have to do that kind of stuff. And that's a sin on my part. But if you create an entitlement attitude, that's why money becomes an issue. Because we don't see it as a gift from God. We think we own it all. If we can ever learn that you are the owner of nothing, but the steward of everything, it'll be a better life. If you can understand that when you're dealing out with money, you're reaching in your pocket to pay this, I'm using God's money to do that. Does that honor him in doing it? Wow. How does that change your approach to life?
Right.
Would God spend money on this? So the eighth thing, though, is you have to be built on fidelity, that you have allegiance to each other. So another way, if you want to look at these 8 words, you know, I think it could be absolution. You got to absolve the sin. When you forgive it, let it be gone. I told you before, many of you have heard, I grew up in a Navy house. And Daddy was Navy. He was in for 30 years. And the greatest lesson he taught me about this was the phrase FIDO. FIDO. When something goes wrong, he just say FIDO. And I knew what that meant. Forget it, drive on. Whatever happens, you can't undo what happened. Forget it, drive on. Now, honestly, in a Navy house, forget got changed with other words sometimes. It still started with F, but it wasn't forget. And I knew what that meant as well. So, but an affirmation, that's your faith. Your appreciation, that's your friendship. Your acceptance, that's your fellowship. Your awareness, that's the foundation you're on. Your future, that's your affection. Your finances being in agreement. And fidelity is being allegiant to one another. That's allegiance. That's what I think are the steps, are the requirements of this. But then there's some tactical ways that we can elevate our partner. Now, you're going to like this one. Number one, we have to be an encouragement to them. Too often we discourage them for stuff. Has anyone ever said this? Well, that's just stupid. If you said that to your spouse, that's just stupid.
Oh, no, I get it said to me. I don't say it too much.
Oh, well, listen.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man,
about the
you beat me
same.
to that, Chad.
For every one I say, I get about 10.
Okay. Well, the truth is this. Sometimes things that people say and do is stupid. I've got a sign on my wall over my door that I look at occasionally when I'm talking to people, and it just very simply says, "Can't fix stupid." So if I'm listening to somebody whining about this, whining about that, everything in me wants to go, that's just stupid. But the truth is, what they need when they're doing it out of fear or anger or something. They need to be encouraged. If we're going to be more free in 23, one of those words was encouraging. Look for ways to encourage the people around you. I know you are all dealing with people that are getting pre-approved for loans and are getting qualified for loans, but they're hesitant to go with you. They're shopping your rate and doing all this kind of stuff. You've got to learn to be an encouragement to that person. When they feel safe, they feel secure with you, you've got a lot better chance of getting them there. So practice the art of being encouraging. I don't know what Chad was talking about. I heard him walking down the hall a while ago. He was on the phone with someone and he says, I guarantee you we can get that done. Listen, that was very encouraging. If you want to elevate your spouse, be an encouragement to them. Secondly, though, we have to love them. What does it mean to love them? What do you think that means? What is unconditional love?
Accept their strengths and their weaknesses all in one.
That's right. And they have to know they're not alone in this. Whatever they're going through, I'm here with you. I mean, do you say I love you often enough?
Yes.
Good. How many of you think you don't say it often enough?
What is often enough in your opinion?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's, I just know there are times I could say it and I don't, because it sounds like a hollow word. You know, if I can really come to understand that what I'm trying to do with Mary is let her know she's got nothing to be worried about. She's got nothing at all to be worried about. And
I think the best thing I've heard there, Roy, was Hunter's dad. And since I've heard it, I've been trying to do it at home. Every morning he woke up, kissed Hunter's mom 4 times and told her he loved her 4 times. And after that, he grabbed her butt, and he did the same thing before he went to bed every night. And I think we can start our day and end our day that way. It just makes life better.
That's right. You know, I get up before Mary does, since she's retired, but I always walk over to the bed before I leave and tell her, I love you, honey. Give her a kiss. I'll see you this afternoon. And before we go to bed at night, we got to make sure we know we love each other. There's nothing like knowing that somebody loves us unconditionally, meets us where we are, you know, walks through the valleys with us. You know, to me, it's living our values every day. Living our values every day. If she knows that I value her, then she's going to know I'm there with her. Thirdly, we got to engage with them. We got to ask questions. We got to talk. We got to say, what's wrong? The one thing that bothers me often about Mary is I'll say, baby, what's wrong? Nothing. Well, clearly it's something. You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but there's something wrong. And what she'll eventually say is, I don't want to bother you with it. And the greatest thing in the world is when I can say to her, whatever you say to me is never a bother. And make her really know that. So she feels like she can tell me everything. And when we encourage and love and engage, we will be showing value to them. We will be valuing them in everything that we do. Then we have to learn to affirm them. She wants to go get this at Belk's. If it's in the budget, I don't care. If that makes you feel better, I mean, Mary will not do for herself over and over. And I've told her, baby, you really can get rid of that t-shirt you had from 1979 and get you a new one. I said, that's what they're selling today in the stores are shirts that me and you got in our closet.
Vintage.
Exactly. They're vintage. No, they were brand new when I got them. Had the Rolling Stones on tour in 1974.
Those are hot shirts now.
Yeah. But you know, you got to affirm them. If she wants to do this, she wanted to plant this vegetable garden. She don't know nothing about gardens. The only person who knows less about gardens was Rick. And he's planting a garden out there, and him and Mary getting this competition. And you know, she beat him on some things. He beat her on some things, but they love to play that game with each other. And he's laughing, and laughing. And Mary says, oh, I'm going to go to the store and buy some big tomatoes and take them to him. But listen, she wants to do that garden. I affirm her in doing the garden. Get her whatever she needs for the garden. But then, you know, the sixth one, we have to trust. We have to trust them. Does your spouse know you trust them? If they don't, you got to work on that. If they doubt your trust of them, and if you doubt their trust of you, that's the area you've got to work on. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He said, I've got a chance to go to the Super Bowl, but my wife doesn't want me to go. I said, then you can't go. He said, no, I'm going. I said, why are you asking me what you should do? If your wife doesn't want you to do it, there's a reason. At some level, she's lost trust in you. And I said, I know you pretty well. I think you've earned that right not to be trusted. It's going to take some time to overcome it. Now, was that harsh advice?
Nope.
Was that honest advice?
Honest.
Was it pleasant? No. Isn't what he wanted to hear. But the truth is, if we lose trust, we've lost everything. When we lose trust, we've lost everything. You guys that are employers, when you lose trust in one of your teammates, it's out the window. You know, if they lose trust in you, it's out the window. So we as leaders have to always be building trust with the people around us, but that means we also have to be showing trust to them. In a perfect world, I should be on an airplane today, going to Africa. We've got a team, our team over there is starting a project on Sunday, and I normally leave on Wednesday, get there on Thursday, spend Friday in the capital city, then venture out to the project site. But they need 4 of us to come do that. Well, two of our people here have not received the vaccination. And that country will not let you come in without a vaccine. Now, they've had about 4 cases of COVID in the country in the whole history of it, but they're following the guidelines of organizations and stuff. So we couldn't go. So my guys looked at me and said, since you aren't coming, can we do 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks for a project? Do you trust us to do that? I said, well, sure, I trust you. Why'd you ask me if I trust you? Because it's going to cost more money. I said, okay. It's not costing me money to buy 4 airplane tickets to come over there. So what you need is far less than what we would have spent when we come. Now, I was bummed by it, but I do trust them. And the truth is, once we found out where they were going, I'm glad we're not going. Because it's about a 7-hour trip from the capital city to the region they're going to work in. And then for the first 7 days, every day, from where they are staying to the place the project is a 2-hour trip going and coming. So that means they'll leave about 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And if they stay and do a film show at night, or 4 of those at night, they won't leave out there till about 11:30. So from 4:30 in the morning till about 3:30 in the morning is a long day. And so I got to trust them to do that. But I also trust that the Lord saw us through that. So then the 7th thing is we have to learn to enjoy them. When we encourage, when we love, when we engage, when we value, when we affirm, and we trust them, we're in the right place. Now, do you have questions about that? All right. Well, the next thing is go ahead and click that again.
Hey, I have a question, Roy.
Okay.
So, sometimes you can tell somebody you love them and tell somebody you love them, and 10 times a day, but then depending on the time, how they're feeling, they don't feel like you love them because you're not showing it, maybe.
Well,
Right.
yeah, that's a great observation. The truth is this: there was an old Christian song when I was coming along, back in the 70s. It was called "Love Is Something You Do." I think one thing we miss out on sometimes is, I think it was Gandhi who said one time he wanted to believe what Christians believed. He liked everything they believed, and then he said this to them: "But what you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you're saying." So sometimes our actions don't match our words of "I love you." So we got to find a thing they enjoy. We got to know their love language. Speak it through that to them, not just the words, "Hey, I love you, honey." On Valentine or anniversary on Saturday, I'd ordered and had delivered to Mary 2 things she loves is, fresh roses and chocolate covered strawberries from Sherry's Berries. And she loves those. And the flowers showed up and she said, "Wow, thank you so much." And I could see her looking around going, "But I didn't get no strawberries." Well, about an hour later, they brought a second delivery and it was strawberries. I said, "Baby, all you got to do is ask." But I was speaking her love language. I didn't have to say "I love you so much." She saw that. She realized that I'd heard her language. And we got to find things to do that shows that we love them. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, just got to
Okay.
be more aware of that.
And anybody else? Yeah, it's an awareness. That's right. Anybody else? Okay. Now, the next thing is, what do? We got to plan some stuff together. We got to be proactive. Take a wheel like this and play, spin the wheel and look for, this is what you put in your date night box. What are the things on this you would put in your date night box? Is it fly a kite? Is it the movies? Is it bike together, bake together? Any of those things that are on that wheel, just spin that thing. Or maybe easier than having a spinning wheel is cut strips of paper with these phrases on it, or any other things. Come up with things that you'd like to do. Let her come up with things she'd like to do. Fold them and put them in a fishbowl, and just once a week pick one out. And whatever comes out is what you do. If it's go for a picnic and it's, you're in Chicago and it's 8 degrees, well, you got to go for a picnic, but you got to do it inside. Whatever comes out of that box, just do it. And then you'll see a time. There are things that you'll be able to do. That's a great thing to do. Then you got to plan some long weekend trips. How many long weekends do you guys do a year? Chad, how many do you do? 5?
6.
6, okay. You're
6.
doing every 2 months. Okay.
Same.
Now, does going to the summit count?
No.
So you don't stay over with her and stay at the summit for a long weekend?
We have, but I don't count it as a long weekend because
Okay.
too many other people, and I'm always a little checked out on her by the time we're done on Saturday afternoon.
Okay. Who else does them regularly? How many do you do, Randy?
We do 6 as
Okay.
well.
Good.
We'll do 2 extra weeks of vacation we'll do the week before every summit, and we'll go, like, we're gonna go to Utah in the fall before the fall summit.
Okay.
So we always take an extra week before.
Okay, good. But 6 long weekends.
Mhm.
Great. Anybody do less than that? Well, great. Y'all are doing good. You don't need any instruction on this. 6 long weekends is perfect. That's one every 2 weeks, every 2 months. Okay. And then you got to think about some family activities that you do. You know, what are the things that you really want to do on that time together? Family activities. Maybe that's part of your weekend, but plan it around things that you enjoy doing. If you know, you enjoy skiing, go skiing on one of those. If you enjoy horseback riding, go horseback riding on one of them. If you enjoy playing golf, play golf. Just find things you both agree on and plan your weekends around that. Okay?
Roy,
Yeah.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I got 4 kids, they're all little. 10, 7, 5, and 3. I mean, how do you have any magical advice on how to do long weekends with my wife? When I mean, I don't want to put on my parents to try and come and watch the kids, and you know, because they're in their 70s. So
Okay. Who watches your kids when you go on a date night?
we have a nanny, like, that's part-time.
Okay. Could she keep them on a long weekend?
Possibly. I can start talking to my wife about it. It would be a big ask just because of all the extracurricular activities they do, but that's a good point.
Well, I also think grandparents could do one of those weekends. How far away do grandparents live?
Not too far, about an hour.
Okay. Both sets of grandparents, both sides?
No, just mine.
Okay.
My parents.
How about hers?
No.
Okay. Do you have any other family that could help you one time a year?
Probably not. I mean, I have a sister that has 3 kids, so that would be a big ask. My brother, but he's single, and so it'd be tough.
Okay. Well, you know, you do have a boatload of those ages right there.
Yeah.
And this may be something.
What about Chad? Can Chad do it?
Yeah.
I like
Chad,
it. Bring 'em on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you may not do this often,
Okay.
you know, for the next couple of years. You know, when that 3-year-old gets to be about 6, you'll probably be fine.
Okay.
Because how old is the oldest one?
10.
Well, if you've got a 10-year-old in 3 years, he'll be 13 and he'll think he's 21. But you can find someone that you trust if this becomes a priority for you. Now, I can't tell you who it is, but I wouldn't beat myself up by saying I can't do but 3 of these a year. Then do 3. You know, let your parents do it one time, let the nanny do it one time, and then just be looking for somebody else to do it the 3rd time.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
talk to my wife about it tonight.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good. You can have a date night tonight. Talk to her about this stuff.
Yep.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Now, but then there's also some big box things. You know, what I mean by that is what are the getaway escapes? You know, you're going to a resort somewhere. You want to go to an island somewhere. You want to go, you know, a bigger deal. And then what are some once in a lifetime bucket list excursions? You know, where is it in the world you both have always wanted to go that you just hadn't gone yet? Do you already have that in your mind? Do you already know the place where it is? How many of you women want it to be Italy? Well, look, I knew one of you would. How many of you guys want it to be, you know, Thailand?
An awesome place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What's on your once in a lifetime bucket list, Chad?
I was going to raise my hand on Italy until you said women, so then I put my hand.
No, listen, maybe you can go with Mary because she wants to go to Italy.
All right.
I got no idea what's in Italy. But what we've agreed on is we're going to do one of those cruises down the river. It ends up in Italy. So, you know, that sounds like it's going to be fun. You know, for us, the getaway escapes, she wants to go to, what's it called? Is it Jackson Hole, Wyoming? what's in Montana? Glacier something? She's-
Glacier National
Glacier
Park
National
is the
Park.
Yeah,
Grand
where's that?
Teton, yeah.
Is that Montana? Okay, I don't know where it is, but she was talking to me last night. Hey, how'd you like to go here? Great, let's go.
Yeah, that's
So-
Wyoming.
Okay, Wyoming. Okay. So I think if you think of those things, start dreaming now, especially you young guys. You know, start dreaming about places. Rachel, you nodded your head. What's on your once in a lifetime bucket list?
I want to go to Maldives and swim with the sharks.
Oh man, that sounds fun for you. Not for me, but
Yeah,
that
my
sounds fun
husband
for
said-
you.
Yep, my husband gave me a hard pass. He said, that's your girls' trip. Listen,
Good. But you younger people really start planning about this. Now's the time to do it. And that's what you're working for. And when you do all those things, you're going to be more free in 23. You're going to have more fun. You're going to be more relational. You're going to be more engaged. You're going to be more encouraging. I think that's how you find love and how you honor your spouse. You got any other questions for me? Well, either I did an exceptional job or didn't say anything worth of anything.
I think it's the first.
Yeah,
exceptional.
you did an exceptional job.
All right. Well, words of affirmation get you everywhere. All right. Well, listen, I'm honored. I appreciate you guys inviting me to do this. You know, I'm always learning. I want to say one final thing to you. The key to success in marriage are 3 words. It is listen, learn, and lead. Listen, learn, and then lead. If you'll be that person in the marriage, you'll have a strong future together in everything that you go through. Now, I know we got Carrie just getting ready to get married, and she it's all going to be perfect for her. She's got it dreamed up in her brain. It's going to all be perfect. The truth is, you're going to have some challenges. You're going to have some challenges, but the challenges is what's going to make you a strong marriage. If you never have challenges, you'll never get any better. Any of you not married? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, listen, are you in a relationship with someone? That's your answer for everything, Ryan, is this. It's sort of kind of wishy-washy. Well, listen, find the right person and tell them you can leave anytime you want, but I'm going with you. Make that kind of commitment. You don't have to do it today, but start looking, asking God to direct you in everything you do.
Thank you, Roy.
All right, thank you.
Roy.
God
Thank
bless
you,
you all.
Roy.
Thank you,
Thank
Chad,
you,
for letting
Roy.
me
So
come.
much.
Anything-
Thank you so much, Chad.
Absolutely.